What is up, everyone? Welcome to Reality Room Podcast with Paul,
Chris,
and Dave.
bringing you the latest on Big Brother 19 finale. Okay, guys, so we just had the Big Brother 19 finale occur today, and oh my God, it was absolutely, well, I say my one word for it is stunning. Do you guys have one word just to sum up this whole finale just really quickly?
victory.
gift giving, if that's a word.
Gift giving. I like it. I love it. All right, so we just had this huge finale, and basically it was just incredible, honestly. I did not expect any of this to happen. I know a lot of people watching also did not expect any of this as well. By the way, guys, if any of you want to talk in our chat, we are live, and I'm paying attention to the chat. So if you have any questions, have any funny comments you want to make, go right ahead. And so let's jump right into it. So we start off basically with the first head of household, and it was like this unicorn fart thing. What the hell was that? What do you
It
guys
was
think?
like magical rainbow farting. Like just in random magical rainbow farting endurance comp.
But it kind of looked like something that maybe production was like, oh, maybe Christmas could definitely play in this competition, so or maybe they were thinking of something else, but they realized Christmas's injuries were like really bad, so maybe we could alternate to a competition that she can play. It's very well possible. They have the money to do it.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, I don't think anyone really expected Christmas to be in the final two or final three rather. So it was kind of like wow. I guess we kind of have to edit the comp a little bit because they usually do an endurance comp, like one that involves like your whole body, like the first part.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was something that was really, really difficult. Like especially since the timing of how they got out, like how long they stayed on. So I kind of figured that they had something in mind before the season started, but then once they thought about Christmas's injuries, they were going to alter the final. I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure they could have changed some stuff around with it.
Yeah, they might have changed a couple things around, but either way, it was nice to finally see her actually compete for the first time, like her really competing in endurance comp since the game started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. Although I still think her leg ended up putting her at a disadvantage. But hey, it is what it is. So anyway, Josh is the first person to fall on this. And I'm just sitting there like, really? Josh is the first person to fall? And he falls down. He's like sweating like crazy. It's only been like 40 minutes. I'm just like, boy, really?
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I thought it would have been Christmas. I think everyone thought it would have been Christmas because of her leg. But, I mean, she pulled through.
Yeah, no, Christmas endured for quite a while. She made it almost an hour, and then comp was over.
But it also seemed like Paul was struggling too. I don't know if that's this editor doing it. Like, was he actually struggling?
No, Paul was struggling. No, Paul was struggling. Like you saw his feet were starting to fall off a little bit. He was closing in on the end. Christmas really did almost win that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Christmas did a really good job in that competition. But Paul ended up pulling through, and he won the first part of the HOH, which leads us into our second part of the HOH. This I actually really love this comp. It kind of had like a Game of Thronesy.
I was about to say Game of Thrones.
Kind of like feel to it, and I feel like that's on purpose, because everyone loves Game of Thrones, basically. So CBS is just basically like, "Hey, look at us. We're appealing to what you like. Love us." But
that's right.
Yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, talk a little bit about how you guys thought the competition went.
I thought the competition was pretty freaking cool. Actually, I saw it on the live feeds, and Josh and Christmas were just going crazy about how much they hated the comp. But to watch it, it was actually fun.
Oh, so part 2 wasn't on the live feeds. They just talked about it, correct? Live feeds were off when it happened? Okay.
None of the competition was on the live feeds. They just talked about it. Josh just kept on ranting about how much they hated it, and then he won by seven minutes exactly.
See, I was surprised that they only asked 3 questions, though. It kind of, for a final, this is the moment where you get the $500,000 spot. I'm surprised it was 3 questions, and they really weren't hard questions. One of the questions was who was on the block during eviction night, who won HOH, and I'm trying to remember what the other question was.
No, it was who was on the block more than 3 times.
It was who was on the block more than 3 times, who was HOH, and I don't remember what the second one was, but
who was HOH and who had the veto used on them.
Yeah, who had the veto? They seem like pretty easy questions, especially since they've been in the house for so long. Like they have to study up on stuff.
Especially the HOH one, because there was
But
only like a handful of HOHs.
yeah, but I was really surprised that they struggled on the questions. I thought they would have been struggling a little bit more on just getting like just hitting the targets down more than the
They
question.
they were, because one of the things that made the comp a little harder was the fact that they actually had to go and like recollect the ammo or like whatever they were using to shoot down the targets.
Yeah,
And then it also had to do with the placement of the targets, because Cody and Jessica in particular kept on getting knocked down a lot, which
yeah,
is, I guess, kind of ironic the way the show went. But they both kept on getting a lot knocked down a lot while they were trying to get the other targets behind them.
yeah.
So
Also,
it was positioned like that on purpose.
I was really confused when they were just like when Christmas was talking about the competition, what the competition was going to be about. I'm surprised they didn't say how many of them they had, like 5, 6, 7. I'm surprised, like, because that's really important too to mention how many they have. So like, oh my god, I used all 7. Now I gotta go back. Like,
Well, what I
Yeah,
thought was
no.
particularly interesting about this competition is the fact that it just took so long for them to do it. Like you saw at the end, like we have like these quick edits, so you get kind of like a sense that it didn't last as long as we think it does. We probably look watching at home and thinking, oh, this only maybe lasts like 30 minutes tops. But then it goes up to like an hour and a half. So Chris, when you said that you thought maybe they wouldn't they didn't have trouble like hitting a bunch of things. I think they probably did have a lot of trouble hitting, and they probably just took like a really, really long time. They just edited them actually hitting the stuff, because otherwise it would be there for fucking ever, and they didn't want that.
yeah,
Exactly.
that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, Josh ended up winning by that 7 minutes, like you guys just said, and he secures his spot. I mean, like you got to give him credit. He secured his spot. Christmas just was frustrated throughout the competition. You saw her at times like break down. You saw Josh break down as well. They both thought that the other person was probably going to win. I remember even Josh said when they were showing her time, like, "Oh my God, you beat me." But no, Josh ended up pulling out. And at that point, they basically kind of decide, okay, well, who do we want to bring to like the finals? I think they show like a little clip of Paul and Josh talking. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, I want to add on what you were just saying. I thought the way they edited the clip after the part 2 HOH, where it was like them individually talking to the cameras, I really thought that was well thought out. Like it kind of just shows like their story. Like it starts with Christmas, then with Paul, then with Josh. I'm like, oh my god, like just the way the editor like put all this stuff together. We kind of see like them as individuals, like telling us like what's going on without it being a DR session. I thought that was really cool on the. I thought that was a really, really good idea on the editor's part, and kudos to them.
Yeah, I was really wondering though, like if that was planned or if that was like complete accident, because all of them kept on like just talking to the camera outside the DR about all that stuff. So I wonder, like, if production told them, "Hey, let us know your plans outside the DR."
All right, so
Just, like,
let's
take a
talk
look.
about them like talking a little bit after. It seemed like Christmas was really down, and Josh and Paul were Josh basically realized, okay, I have to bring Paul to the final 2. That's probably my best shot. Basically what he was suggesting.
Well, I don't think it was really Josh that realized it, because Josh was really set on bringing Christmas. It was Paul that kept on convincing Josh to take him instead of Christmas.
Don't forget, it was Christmas too. Christmas told Josh to take Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I don't think it was Josh's. I don't think Josh ever came to his own realization. I think he just took their advice, and their advice both make sense.
No,
I mean, if we hadn't seen the round table, I would have thought to take anyone other than Christmas, to be honest.
I think
Right,
Josh.
exactly.
I think Josh really thought it out, and I think he realized he was like not maybe like counting the votes out, but he really thought to himself, "Man, Christmas or Paul? Christmas or Paul? If I take Christmas, are they gonna vote for me? If I take Paul, are they gonna vote for me?" I think that's what he thought. Yes, I do agree with you, Dave, that the conversation he had with Paul did help a little bit, but I think ultimately he made the decision on his own that he wanted to go to the final 2 with Paul because a lot of people in the jury did like Christmas.
All right, so
No, a
now
lot of people in the jury did like. Yeah. A lot of people in the jury did like Christmas. My bad.
Yeah.
All right, now let's jump into like probably one of the most interesting parts of the night, the round table. Like, and oh my god, this round table is probably one of the most heated round tables we've ever seen on Big Brother. Like, it was absolutely bonkers, to say the least.
Just
So
to add to that, just to add to like how crazy the round table was. Whenever they had after the show interviews with Dr. Will, he kept on saying how the round table looked like they were just really angry at him and how much they hated seeing him there. Where he said, as opposed to past seasons when he walked in, they were like high-fiving him and all happy.
Yeah,
So that's how the jury was already heated before he ever walked through the door.
and it's such like a point of like contention basically, because it's like, okay, most seasons you have like this, you have like a normal discussion. I mean, sometimes it gets heated. Of course, it gets heated. Like it got heated in a lot of previous seasons, but this season it seemed particularly heated. And so they showed like a lot of people being emotional. Surprisingly, the people that were less emotional were actually like Matt and Raven, who were trying to talk clearly about, listen, like Paul played the better of the 3 games here, so that's why we're voting for him to win. And Alex is just like, nope, don't like Paul, never lied in this game, nope, never did anything bad. And Jason and everyone's just kind of like, okay, I mean, whatever. And then you have like Elena and then Mark basically suggesting, okay, I can see Paul's game. I don't have to like it. I can see Josh's game. I don't have to like it. It is what it is. So what do you guys think? I feel like there was a lot like flip-flopping amongst like Mark and Elena. They kind of weren't sure what they were saying.
Flip-flopping with Mark and Elena? You mean like the entire game? Like how like they just kept on going back both sides? So that's kind of ironic when you put it like that. But it was funny to see. It was funny to see that Matt and Raven were the more level-headed ones, as you said. I mean, when it came to I guess they were more level-headed just because they didn't really have a mind of their own. Like they were just puppets that just did whatever they wanted. They would only get mad if someone told them to get mad or do whatever the hell they were told to do. So, I mean, Matt and Raven are surprisingly just pretty chill and pretty calm just in general. And I think it's also just because their whole belief that Paul is the golden one, that he deserved everything. And they had like this whole misguided belief with it, like that they played the best game, but meanwhile they lost. And I think someone needs to tell Raven, and maybe she realized now, that it's not a team game. Only one person wins. So if Paul...
But I will say, I think Raven did have... I can't believe I'm going to like stand up for Raven right now. This is ridiculous. Yeah. But I think Raven did have some pretty good points when Paul's game.
She did.
I think Paul did mastermind everything. I think he did have a lot of say in who went out and who made decision-making and all this stuff. But the problem was, not with that, but in the beginning of before the roundtable really happened, it was between Mark and Matt that got into a fight where Mark says, "Hey, listen, I didn't fucking come into the game to like just float around like you guys did and eat a bunch of cereal." I'm glad the cereal thing. I'm really glad the cereal thing came up again.
Yeah,
it's always funny, but I think Mark was just really upset because he truly believes that Paul's this good person that has only been loyal to Matt and Raven, which Matt and Raven I still believe to this day thinks that they were the true alliance to Paul, and that are so completely oblivious as to what was really going on. And I think that's what Mark's upset about. As for everything else, what Alex saying, like, I think Alex was just honestly totally bitter. I think once
Alex was the bitterest juror I've ever seen, like maybe in history. Like she's Queen Petty,
which was very surprising because when she first came into the jury house, she was like, "I'm gonna campaign for Paul." Pro Paul the winner. And then once we saw this round table, it was switched all away. She was really fucking bitter. And it's because they exchanged notes. Once they exchanged notes.
No. What's strange is that she said that apparently that Paul was talking bad about her in the house. I don't remember seeing Paul talking bad about Alex in the house. So that's a little weird.
It could have been someone lying to... It's very, very possible, but I don't know.
It could have just been something that we didn't see on camera or didn't catch on the live feeds, really.
Maybe something early on.
I don't really remember Paul really talking bad about her.
It was probably something that Matt and Raven said. It was something because who knows? Paul probably said some shit about Matt and Raven about Alex, and Alex was probably bitter as fuck. Like,
so I want to talk about Jason because there's this one point, and Dr. Will even mentions it in his interview with Jason after, when there was like when they were trying to make like a point. Basically, Dr. Will was trying to say, who are you to decide where the line is for lying in this game? And he's like, no one makes that line. And then Jason's like, no, that's not true. The jury makes that line.
Yeah.
And that was like a great line because he's like, listen, we decide basically if we want to reward Paul for what he's done like masterfully or if he just overlied and overplayed. And a lot of them thought that he overplayed, and that's the reason.
And that's exactly what Jason said. Jason's exact words was Paul over-lied. Like, there's a limit.
And
Paul hit it.
I want to add into, besides Paul just lying to everyone, also Cody brought a good point about the pendant of protection again, which I was talking about for weeks and weeks and weeks, and saying that would be a really good argument against Paul, is that he had 3 weeks of safety, and that's basically 4 if you count him coming into the house and giving everyone friendship bracelets.
And Mark gave him safety 1 week. I just want to say someone in the chat just said, Genji just said, Alex, a bitter juror, surprising for someone who wears a petty hat.
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, you're certainly not wrong, Genji. So
Not at all. Tom Petty.
Yeah, Tom Petty. So Dr. Will just seemed bewildered by like this whole jury experience, basically. Kevin was very rational too. He was just like, "Hey, listen, it happens. You know, Paul played a great game. You know, it is what it is. He just seemed like so chill with everything."
But that's just Kevin, though. Kevin was just classy to the end.
And everyone was like, "Oh, everyone followed Paul," and Cody's just there like, "No."
The thing about that too is Jason even said to Kevin, like, "Yo, he's been talking bad about you too. What are you talking? You're gonna vote for someone who's talked bad about you?" And Kevin was like, "Oh yeah, sure, yeah, I would still give my vote." And I was really surprised by Kevin. I don't know why.
I'm not shocked by Kevin at all. Kevin honestly he kind of just stopped caring like the last couple weeks.
I think it's just.
He's happy he made it to 4.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like the last week, whenever he was on, he was on the block for the last 4 times before he finally went, and he just like once Alex was gone, he just didn't care anymore at all because everyone in the house did like him. He liked them. It was just he knew he couldn't win.
Yeah, but very true. All right, so let's now jump after the round table. So the round table ends, and it seems like pretty contentious. A lot of us, after watching the round table, most of us were more confused than we were when we started. But we kind of starting to think that Josh had more of a chance than he did before.
You know what I was surprised at with the round table? Because Paul, whenever we did the video last time, we kept on talking about how Christmas had a really good shot at pretty much winning if she was up on the block against anybody. And what I was surprised with the round table, though, is that almost all of them unanimously said that Christmas doesn't even deserve it at all.
Right, and a lot of that was because of her leg. They thought that was just like pity that they brought her to the end. And that was exactly what I was talking about with you, only I didn't think they would think that far into it, like for voting-wise, because we talked about how Christmas would have been seen. Right, she was brought to the end because of sympathy, and she played a good social game, and she had to adapt into a social game. And if she did not break her leg, she would have been she would have been out 5th or 6th, just like Jason or Alex, because those are also the heavy competition piece. So that's when she would have been eliminated, probably by.
She might have been out even earlier than that, honestly.
Yeah,
I mean, look how good she did with her broken leg in that endurance comp.
Hindsight 2020.
Yeah, she would have never made it that far.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But what were we up to? HOH Part 3?
Yes. Okay, so we go into HOH Part 3, and we have Genji in the chat saying, well, it was kind of pity in a sense. So I mean, yeah, it was pity, honestly.
It was pity, and just the fact that Paul wanted to take 2 people that he knew he could beat in a physical competition.
Yeah, exactly. And it just happened to be Christmas just happened to be there. All right,
exactly.
So now let's talk about the third part of the HOH, which was very surprising. We still don't know if Paul threw this third part of the HOH. There's a lot of speculation that he might have thrown it. Chris, I know, Chris, you think that he probably did. I don't think that he did. I think he just flat out lost. Dave,
I think so too.
Dave, what do you think?
I think they completely lost. I mean, like, the 3 of us were sitting there watching the show, and we were trying to answer the questions too, and all of us couldn't get every single question right. The questions were pretty tough.
They were tough.
One of the questions was, you would think the obvious answer, and it was like Matt, and it was like, which one does he love more, like cereal or Raven's cooking? And you would think that the obvious answer would be cereal, but it would also make you think that that it's like, reverse psychology, and that you want to pick Raven's cooking. But the funny part is
I said Raven's cooking for that.
Yeah, I said Raven's cooking for that too.
I said the cereal thing just because I've seen the memes and I've seen the jokes online about how bad her supposed cooking is, but I mean, maybe I just picked a bad example, but a lot of the other questions that were asked about, like that was one of the
Even
questions.
Alex's question was, whose fault is it? I forgot what it was. Like, who played the worst game or something like that, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Paul. Is that what the question was?
What was it? One more time.
What
So-
Alex? Who played the worst game or who played a bad game? Was that?
Oh, right. Who played a bad game? It was like between herself.
It was her and
Jessica.
Jessica, yeah, and it was Jessica, and I thought she would have said herself because she fucked up so badly, but
Hell no, she ain't gonna
No.
say herself. Are you kidding
Alex,
me?
Alex is way too petty to say that.
Alex say herself. We had Genji in the chat saying that last competition was very tricky and sounded like people just lied, and I agree.
yes,
With that. Like, especially, like, look at the Cody question, okay? Cody's like, what's the most important thing to you? And what's the best thing that happened to you in this game? Meeting Jessica or winning the battle back? He says winning the battle back.
And
No.
everything about
No.
Cody is always been about Jessica.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it wasn't
It's
true
all-
to him.
It's all Jessica, but you also have to realize that when they're asked these questions, they're not giving these multiple choice answers. They're not like, oh, well, what do you want to say? Do you want to say meet Jessica or fucking or win the battle back? So Cody's going to say the best thing I did in the game is win the battle back, and then they probably like manipulated the question. Probably, if I had to
It's
guess.
it's literally a crapshoot. Like,
And that's what the thing that made it more confusing is all these questions were asked when they were already in the jury. So
I
you really
thought
didn't
Paul-
know like what their
well-
mindset was at that point.
I thought Paul, like, if he didn't throw it, then he just really, I don't know what the fuck happened. If he didn't throw this competition, like he dominated it last season. Like he got it like flat on, like got everything down. Yes, the questions were very tricky, but you have to understand he's also been talking to these house guests a lot more than Josh has.
Yeah, that's certainly true. Although Josh ended up getting a lot of the questions right, so
It was a 4-2. 4-2. They didn't have to even keep going on. That's how Josh completely beat Paul.
Yeah, it was 4-2. I think there was one question left, and it was kind of like, wow, they didn't even have to go to Kevin. And
I would have liked to see Kevin. I would have liked to see that though.
I have no idea what that would have been.
Still want to see Kevin's. All right, so Josh wins. Like we're at home. We're very surprised by this, and it's very similar, as I'm sure Chris knows, to Big Brother 17 wins the final HOH over Vanessa, and we're all at home thinking, is he going to cut the mastermind? Is he going to cut the mastermind? Season 17, Steve Moses cut the mastermind and took Liz to final two, and it ended up working out for him. In this season, we didn't know what was going on. Like a lot of us were kind of expecting him to maybe cut Paul because it would be very good. That would also be very good TV, right? I mean,
it would have.
But he was so convinced that Christmas would have beat him, and honestly, maybe Christmas would have beaten Josh. I have no idea. They haven't even asked that on the round table.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that wasn't even a question that was asked.
After watching the roundtable, I actually think that Paul could have beaten Christmas, and I think that Christmas might have beaten Paul. It was. I don't think any of them were locked in, to be honest.
Yeah, it was definitely going to be. I think Paul was losing no matter what.
Probably so.
I think Paul was losing no matter what. Those 5 people were never going to vote for Paul. I mean, that's just the way it is. That was all planned out. It was all planned out. If Paul was in final 2, those 5 people were never voting for him. That's just the way it is. No matter what happened. A lot of them even said his answers were good. They just weren't voting for him. Okay, but
his answers really were shit, honestly.
But all right, let's get to that. So Josh goes and evicts Christmas. Has some like emotional statement while doing so. I mean,
can I say something before? Can I say something about that?
Of course.
Okay,
go for it.
So I've watched like all these seasons and stuff like that. I've never seen it where Julie asked the 2 people that are on the block to campaign for the final HOH. It didn't happen in season 17. Didn't happen in season 18. Didn't happen in season 16. It never happens ever. I'm surprised. So I was really surprised why this season that was like how she did it. Like I'm surprised by that.
I guess they had like some extra time to kill.
I think so. Well, I mean, keep in mind they didn't ask all the questions for the HOH comp, so.
Oh, that's true. That does make sense.
Right,
oh,
so
yeah.
So they probably had extra time, so they probably wanted to kill it.
Probably.
Makes sense.
That's pretty important.
It's live TV, so.
I mean, I would have sold more to advertisers personally, but that's.
Well, no, they probably
more
had the
time
space
talking
already.
to the jury. after they locked in their votes, like more time to just talk to them.
True, or like the pre-jury.
Yeah.
Have Jessica propose.
I just thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, I'm so mad there was no proposal.
Pissed. All right, so Christmas leaves, and she basically doesn't campaign for herself during her speech. She basically says, "Okay, I understand I'm going," and that's basically it. And I'm just sitting there. We're all sitting there like, "What are you doing, Christmas?" I thought that if Christmas made a good pitch at the end, Josh probably could have taken her. Agree? Disagree?
I don't know.
Yes, I agree. But I actually,
Josh is emotional enough that he could have been swayed. Maybe.
especially since he was with, it's so weird. He was with Christmas longer, and he even told Christmas that he wants to get rid of Paul. Like that, he's a mastermind. He's really good at the game, and it's so weird that Christmas is the one that was for Paul. Like, no, Paul's good. Yet Josh is the one that kept Paul, and not, you know what I mean? It's so weird how that happened.
But whenever Josh made the speech, though, he said he thinks it would be better for his game that he'd be able to win, and it's true though because Josh really was disliked by a lot of the jury members. But again, the round table is. All right, well, let's take the round table out of it, and let's just put like ourselves inside Josh's position and inside the house. It's true, Josh was disliked by a lot of people. So if you just see it from that perspective alone, he goes up against Christmas, who is well liked, who is nice, who is friendly,
and really good at public speaking. Really good at public speaking.
Right.
We can debate that.
And that's definitely the thought process. Like when you're in the house, you're always thinking to yourself, okay, well, who does the jury like? Are they going to vote based on who they like? Are they going to vote based on gameplay? Is it going to be a bitter jury? Because, Josh had a hand in everyone's eviction as well. I mean, you have to understand that he probably could consider the jury being mad at him too. So he doesn't know the extent of how mad they are at Paul. They just know that a lot of people in the jury don't like him and don't like Paul. But so he made like a calculated decision there, and Christmas was very proud of his moves as like, he kind of like grown up through evicting her.
He did.
I thought that was a little bizarre, but maybe she's right. Maybe.
I definitely think Josh completely evolved from the very first fucking day to now. And also, I was telling Dave this too. I also think it's funny that the first day they had to go vote, Josh is the one that evicted Christmas, and then the last day of the Big Brother, Josh again voted to evict Christmas.
That's actually pretty funny.
I think that's funny. Kind of weird. It just never happens ever.
We have Genji in the chat saying, "Nah, Josh made a good decision bringing Paul to the end. The jury was too petty." That's also true. The jury could have been petty to Josh as well.
100%,
Josh did a lot of crazy shit in the house.
Yeah,
something to think about. All right, so they after the break, they bring in the whole jury, and they basically like, okay, who do you guys think is going to be the last jury member? A lot of them say Christmas. Christmas walks in, and then Julie drops the bombshell that Josh won the final HOH and evicted Christmas, and everyone's like shitting their pants. They're like, what? Like what? Josh wanted evicted Christmas? Like they're their minds.
I wonder how much that affected the votes, if it affected it at all. Because like they were all just like stunned that it was
Elena's face.
Yeah, I know. It was
like
beautiful.
Because they were probably all like, I bet you Elena, like out of anyone in that jury, I think Elena was probably like ready to vote for Christmas.
Yeah. I think when they found out that Josh was the one that voted out Christmas, they were shocked because of how close they were. I don't think it had anything to do with like, oh my god, you didn't take the mastermind out. I think it was just more of like, holy shit, like.
And I think they're also Josh is the
Josh is the one that voted out Christmas and not Paul. Like
right, yeah. I think it's a mix of a little bit of everything. They're surprised Paul didn't win the final HOH. They're surprised he didn't evict. He didn't evict the mastermind, and they're surprised he evicted his closest friend in the house. So it's a tough decision to make. Obviously, he made the right choice. At least, well, we don't know if he would have won or not. We'll talk to. We'll probably see that in the upcoming days through interviews. But he certainly made the right choice considering how the votes went. So let's talk about the questions. These were brutal.
Oh yeah,
towards Paul. And
Even
a
when-
little bit towards Josh, but go ahead.
Even like Julie before she asked the question, she's like, "Okay, guys, ready for the roast?" And like, just like
The
really
interrogation.
the interrogation. I was like, "Thank God, Julie."
No, she's like, get ready to grill them.
Yeah, girl.
Oh, yeah, no, that's exactly what it was, especially Paul. Like, but
Paul
after,
got it worse than Josh.
so yeah, it was 3 questions for each person, all decided by the jury. And after all 3 of the questions were asked, Paul just sat there, just knowing he was screwed.
Yeah, I know. So basically, it's like I think one of the first questions to Paul was like you initiated bullying tactics throughout the game. Like, why do you think that was like okay or something? And he was like flabbergasted. Like he was like so confused. He's
I
like,
didn't do any bullying. I let other people do the bullying, was basically his answer.
I mean, in Paul's defense, like most people on that jury participated in the bullying. Like most of those people did.
Yeah,
So-
but Paul was the one that was the ringleader in the bullying. It wasn't Josh. It was Paul.
right.
Paul was the one that was the ringleader, and like let's even with the Jessica and Cody bullying thing, that was not Josh, that was Paul. Paul's like, let's rile their cages up, let's get Cody to punch someone in the face. Like that's the
true.
bullshit that Elena is talking about. And I wish Paul at this moment would have just been like, yes, I did this, but I totally had to play a different game. It kind of just seemed like he was trying to avoid answering the question by just saying a bunch of baloney.
Right. A lot of them are calling him out on his game, basically saying, well, you weren't loyal to me. You did like all these tactics. And Paul was not owning up to his game. Like that's the one issue that I have that I have in Big Brother. When people play like this masterful game, like just incredible, they do so well, but then at the end they don't own it. It's like what Dr. Will was saying, like right at the end, when he was interviewing people. He was like, yeah, I think that was Paul's downfall, him not owning up to his game. I think if he owned up to his game and just said, yes, I had to do this, I had to do that, I had to get my hands dirty, because if I didn't, I would not make it to the end. And if he did that, I feel like he could have swayed one of those votes. Maybe could have swayed Alex, maybe could have swayed Jason.
I don't really know. I feel like the votes were kind of like locked a little early on, but maybe he could have swayed somebody. But in all honesty, though, like one of the things I noticed with Paul is he wouldn't own up to his game, but everything he was saying was all partial truths because it's true. Like he was the puppet master. Like, hey, yeah, I made all this happen, but I didn't directly do it. I just moved the strings along to make that action happen. So he wouldn't own up to that because he kept on trying to put the blame on the other jurors that were already there. And you're blaming people who are voting for you. That's a terrible choice.
You guys also have to realize that Paul, I know this sounds stupid, but Paul's also, I think he's a philosophy major, correct?
Yeah,
or he
he's a
studies
philosophy.
philosophy.
Yeah.
And in
That's
philosophy,
interesting.
you study like people's behaviors, and you study people's
No, that's sociology.
socialities. Oh, whatever. Well, anyways, I think so. Paul has, and he did it last season too. Like he tried to persuade people that it was their fault and that he didn't have to. Like it was other people doing the moves, and it just kind of was.
Well, I mean, he did the same tactics last season with Bridget and Frank. Basically,
Yeah.
he would say that he would do X and Y to Bridget and Frank, but he would never really deliver on doing any of that. Genji in the chat just said, when they stopped asking Paul questions and just asked Josh more questions, I was just shaking my head. Because,
they got asked the same amount of questions.
No, Josh got asked one more question.
But Christmas was
Yeah,
the one, and
Some
he had to
BS
decide.
question.
But it was they didn't really give Paul a chance to like explain like his game. Basically, they only asked him like personal questions. They're like,
but that's how it has to be. It's 3 questions for each of them, and then at the very end, then you can talk about your fucking game. Like,
I don't think they asked Paul the right questions. I think they should have. I think the bullying question was good, and then after that, they should have asked more about like his game, not dwell more into. Okay, the backstabbing one was good, and then
The bullying one had to be X'd.
the bullying one had to be asked, and then the third one should have been a neutral question. Should have been.
What was the third question? Do you remember?
I don't even know if there was a third question. I can't even remember.
There was a third question. Each of them got 3.
Jason said something about comparing notes.
Right. Comparing notes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what the question was.
I thought that was a
like,
good question. I thought that was a good question.
No, that was a good question because that's whenever Jason asked, basically like how you had to deal with all of us. Did you not expect us to tell each other when we were in the jury?
And then he gave another like cop out answer that didn't make any sense. So
He just did not answer his questions good. Now, Josh, on the other hand, did an amazing job answering.
Yeah, Josh was like,
questions.
"Holy
Oh my
shit!"
god, Josh surprised the shit out of me.
Like when they asked the question about basically him, I think they asked him if he was playing his game or Paul's game, and he was like, "Listen, I did everything to get myself further. I dumbed myself down. I'm actually a super fan of the game. None of you know that about me. I really downplayed myself and tried to align myself with the right people. He was just wording everything really, really well.
Even when he was talking about the business aspect of it, I thought that was a good comparison. I think he said something about like working with his dad and how like you have to like up. I don't know what he said. Something about like up your manager or something like that. I thought that was like a really good like comparison too. Like it kind of goes with his
It just made him seem smarter.
It did, yeah.
I mean, he is smart. I mean, he constantly, his HOHs were like his first HOH, he wanted to get Elena out. The HOH later, he technically wanted to get Paul out. He technically wanted to target Paul. So it's not like he doesn't know what's going on. So he's definitely
self-aware. He's
self-aware,
which is
good. And in touch with his feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what it was though too. Like even though I was in touch with his feelings as it was, like as crazy as it sounds, I feel like his feelings were more or less an unintentional tactic that actually helped him get further in the game.
I think his feelings were actually more real than Paul's, and I think that's
100%.
And Paul's feelings were just like total bullshit and telling people what they want to hear, and Josh didn't tell people. And Josh didn't tell people what they wanted to hear. He told people what the truth is, what he was thinking in his head. Like, yeah, you're fucking shady, Mark. Right. If you want to come after me, come after me.
See, that was the thing. Paul didn't get real. Yeah, Paul didn't really get real until like the last basically a week and a half of the show. We finally saw him like his true colors come out, like his more emotional side. But by then it was too late. It was just how much he likes and respects Josh and Christmas, which is great, but that's not going to help him win, especially when only one of them is going to be a juror. And the other one you're going to be competing against. And
we only saw Paul get emotional when like the people he liked was finally leaving, and by the time that happened, it was just like the last 2 weeks. No one's going to see that. No one's going to think it's real. And then like even after the double eviction, right? And even after the double eviction, with that whole scene with Josh, Paul pretending to cry, and then after like Alex leaves the room, starts laughing and said, "We fucking did it, dude!" And Josh's eyes just like,
yeah,
like he saw the devil or something. And it's just, I don't know. It's just really, really, really interesting, I think.
But what else was an interesting point to make though was we're not even up to that yet, but whatever. Josh with the goodbye videos and how Paul got really pissed off about that.
Yeah, like really defensive.
I forgot what he said. He called him a coward. That's what it was.
Yeah, I know I jumped a little bit ahead in the episode, but that was a pretty big deal.
Let's talk about the votes first. What they said during the votes, and how like maybe how we thought how we kind of assumed votes would go one way or the other. So Cody was the first one to vote, and he says, "I'm going to stick to my promise." Now I thought the promise was because he promised Paul in the house. Well, not Paul, but he promised like people in the house.
Didn't he promise Jessica he would vote for the person he thought played the best game?
I thought the promise was that he would vote for Paul because he saw Paul as an alpha, and so he was going to vote for him because he thought he played the best game. I thought that's what the promise was.
But that didn't prove to be true. But then the other thing, though, I think the other promise I think might be that he tried to strip the 500,000 from as many people as he could.
Which I think that's a different definition. I think he meant by like winning HOHs and vetoes and trying to fuck over other people over. I think what it really came down to was once he got into the jury house and they all, again, I keep repeating myself, but once they all like compared notes and they said Paul said this behind your back, Josh said this. Cody was probably like, well, if Jessica was watching this right now and and Paul really did say this behind my back, Jessica would not want me to vote for someone to win over someone who really who's just been straightforward about what they've been saying.
Well, I mean, that's the thing that's interesting because Jessica said that. I mean, Jessica, keep in mind, she's been at home, she's watched the whole show now, she's seen all the DRs. She straight up said that she would still vote for Paul.
And I thought that was fairly interesting. And you guys were making the point that if it was Cody that left before or if there was no buyback, for instance, if there was no buyback and Jessica left and was the first member of jury, Paul would be winning this game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much.
maybe. Yeah.
That would I don't know how that scenario would have went about, but yeah, probably.
It's
There was no buyback.
It's just very. I think that's just like a very interesting dynamic. And I don't know how Jessica would have done in the jury house. It would have been interesting for sure. All right, so another person whose kind of like statement kind of like threw us off a little bit was Alex, who says, "I'm going to vote for the person who stabbed me in the front, and not stab me in the back." So
no, well, keep in mind though, before she said that though, and reason why you knew who she voted, she basically admitted her vote while she was doing it, because you forgot the other line she said in front of that, which was, "If friendship means a lot to you, I hope we can still be friends after this." And then
I
she
thought
said
that
the
was
stab in the
important.
front and the stab in the back, and you know Paul is Mr. Friendship, so you knew immediately she didn't vote for Paul.
And it makes a lot of sense too, because Alex is basically saying, well, if you really are about friendship, then you wouldn't mind me voting for Josh, and we could be friends after the game's over. And I think
100%.
that's perfect. Like out of everything that Alex made, all the mistakes that she made, this moment kind of redeemed herself a little bit, because she's basically saying Paul could be full of shit and is really not about friendship and isn't going to be friends with anyone after the show by saying the statement that she said. It makes sense.
And then on top of that too is like whenever Alex said that line, you kind of see in the background Julie Chen kind of biting her lip a little bit, like because you feel like I feel like Julie Chen just want to say, "Alex, don't fucking reveal your vote right now."
That happened in Big Brother 16 with Zach Rance when he said,
Yeah.
"I love New Jersey, but I gotta go to Rhode Island," or something like that.
Yeah, it was like so. It was like, oh my god. Oh, thanks, Zach.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I think everyone else basically had like pretty normal stuff when they went up there.
I think Mark said something about like the season was boring or something like that.
Yeah,
like
no one really said anything too contentious.
Yeah, it was just Cody is still a mysterious one because we don't know exactly what the promise was that he said. It kind of makes me want to like rewatch a little bit, but I don't really want to rewatch
When
this
Matt
season.
and Raven say they were voting for the person they believe play like the best game, and we knew they were voting for Paul at that point because the person who did play the best game was Paul by a goddamn mile. We didn't talk about like their speeches. So let's just go into that real quick and then jump into like the kind of reveals in the game. When they bring out the pre-jury. So Paul's speech, very eloquent. He had this practice for a long time. Sounded really good. And then Josh's, he kind of stumbled a little bit.
You thought Paul's speech was good?
Yeah,
I thought it was really. It sounded very scripted.
No. What he's saying is that Paul spoke his speech very well. The content of Paul's speech, I don't think helped him at all. I feel like the content of his speech only hurt him more.
Yeah, that's what I agree. I agree with Dave with that.
I don't know. I kind of like the way he presented it.
No, the way he presented himself was great. It was just what he actually said was just BS.
But all season, Paul has been like trying to like do these scripted things. Like, okay, I'm gonna play this. Like, I wanted Paul to like just say what he really meant without it being like, okay, so from the very beginning of this game, I had to like fight my way because I was the vet. I want to hear you say I had to make really hard decisions. Yes, I did backstab a couple of you guys. Yes, I did say things that I shouldn't have said.
But you know what it was? It was, you know why I don't like Paul's speech is because it was all the wrong things to say to an already bitter jury. You just added more, like everything he said added way more fuel to their fire.
Yeah.
Right. I guess the issue is he needed to be like more extemporaneous with it because he didn't know what the extent of what the jury questions were, and because they were so like heated, maybe his scripted speech didn't end up delivering well to that really bitter jury.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he probably had to do a more defensive speech, but he didn't realize that at the time. So he just went with his normal scripted one. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It could have been him. I don't know. But Josh's speech also, he stumbled a little bit. It got a little,
at the end.
I didn't think Josh's speech was that good either. I thought he answered the questions better, but I don't think he gave like that.
No, Josh answered the questions better by a mile, but his speech, I didn't think was any much worse than Paul's, but it just the stumbling up was just like a little ridiculous, but they just let it slide really because they were just so bitter already.
I agree. That's all I can say. I agree.
All right, let's jump into now.
The reveals, right?
No.
Yeah,
What about? Let's talk about pre-jury.
that's what I'm going to.
Oh,
So,
dude,
my bad.
so we're gonna talk about the commercial break ends and they bring out the members of the pre-jury. Or everyone's already sitting there. It's great to see Jess and Cody get to see each other again. They get to have their looks, and then Cody's just like, I just want to run over there, but you guys won't let me.
Yeah, production told me numerous times I can't run over her.
I can't run over to pick her up. So, talk a little bit about the pre-jury. What do you guys think? They didn't really say.
Are you kidding me? Okay, more specifically on what Jessica said.
Oh, go ahead.
Are you kidding me? Oh my god, guys. Okay, so what Jessica said, basically telling the entire jury, like, listen, you guys really played it was really boring to watch. You guys did not take charge. You guys weren't independent. You guys just sucked at this game. That's basically what it was. And I'm really glad that Jessica pointed this out after they voted, because it kind of it made me really think, like, oh my god, if most of them voted for Paul, they're gonna look like idiots, and it would have looked really bad, honestly. And I was like, I was hoping I saw Cody's face. I was like, oh, Cody, please do not tell me you voted for Paul.
But she also said that she watched from home and she would have given the money to Paul because she feels that the person who played the best game deserves it. Cameron also made some good points when I don't know, for some reason he just started talking about showmances, which is fine. I mean, Chris and I hate showmances. Always have, probably always will.
What about Justin Cody? That's like the exception.
That's the only one. That's the only one.
It's the only exception. Only because of the status of what happened this entire season,
and like the underdog status and who's like bullying and shit. Like, no.
Right. I mean, if Paul wasn't on this season, we probably would not like Justin Cody. I mean, let's get real here.
Yes.
They would be in the power position, and we would hate them for being.
Well, they were hated. They were hated in the beginning.
Yeah,
I don't know. I liked Cody the first half hour before Paul even came in on the show. So
I loved Cody too, but America would not have liked him.
It was funny though. I didn't like Jessica at first, and now she's like one of my favorites. But
they were my two picks to win.
Yeah, well, that didn't happen.
Well, Cody won something else.
What a potential baby making apparently, or you mean the 25K?
I mean 25K. All right, So Cameron talked bad about the showmasters, and he's kind of like, okay, I would just rather people go in, to play the game rather than fucking get into a relationship. Which is funny because like CBS was really pitching like the showmance thing when Dr. Will was asking the questions. So we're just like sitting here like, okay, CBS, what are you trying to do to us right now?
CBS does not understand the fan perspective at all. Like the fans hate showmances. Like the fans hate vets coming back. Are they not understanding what we're trying to say?
And because of that, Chris, it's going to be a season 20 is going to probably be an all vet season of duos.
I was about to say an all vet season of duos. Yeah, probably.
Boy and girl duos, and that'd be fucking great. All right, so now let's talk about the reveals, basically. So after Jessica makes her point that Paul basically ran the house, they play like this big clip, this decently long clip of people just in DRs basically sucking Paul's dick.
Yeah, and then Paul just going on about how he's the great puppet master. And let's also just point out that CBS clearly told her, hey, you can speak because we have this whole big clip. But it was just ridiculous. Like all the house kids were just watching themselves look like idiots. It was actually great. It was the number one. It was exactly what I wanted to see. It was just all of them realized how stupid.
Which is what really scared me. That the vote was going to be for Paul. I thought at that point the vote was going to be for Paul. Seeing that, and I would have been like, "Oh my god, this is so terrible! Like, get it over with. Just give the money to Paul."
What's so confusing here is like a lot of people were saying that production like wanted Paul to win. I'm not too sure that they did because they did show Josh's goodbye messages and everything. A lot of people were saying that the game was rigged for Paul. Paul didn't end up winning, so maybe the game's not as rigged as we thought it was. Genji made a comment that about the showmances, that if you all want to talk about showmances, talk about how Matt was piping down Raven. Oh Lord.
Can we skip Matt and Raven? I don't even know who they are anymore. That's it.
Matt who? Matt who?
What? Lucky Charms? What? Cereal? What?
S'mores.
All right, Dave, you were going to say something about
Yeah, with the showmances though, that's one thing that Jessica did mention is that she would just watch people throw away their games for somebody else, which is kind of ironic because she did the same thing. But I mean, you saw the same thing happen with See, the only one who didn't throw away their game was Mark and Elena. They eventually were able to go as individuals, and Mark took himself off the block and left Elena there at one point.
respect.
Yeah, no, I totally respect that. But I mean, you watched Matt and Raven literally throw away their games for other people. Like Matt threw away his game for Raven to watch Raven throw away her game for Paul. Just completely ridiculous.
Absolutely incredible. All right, so now let's go into the Josh reveal.
Oh, God, that's the best part.
I mean, honestly, there was only I thought there was only really two goodbye messages that really emphasized him throwing Paul under the bus. It was the one
Jason's.
Yeah, it was Jason's and then like Kevin's. Like I feel like the rest was just kind of like, yeah, I'm in the final three with Christmas and Paul. I feel like that's what all of them just basically totaled down to. That was him just basically saying, yeah, listen, this is what happened. We're in a final three deal. Get over it. But the one to Jason and Kevin, I feel like were a little more strategic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the one that Kevin didn't really do anything. Kevin still voted. Kevin just stuck with
Kevin's an
Paul.
idiot.
But
Kevin's an idiot.
But Josh's intention.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Josh's
Josh-
intention was I'm not Paul's puppet. I'm not oblivious to what's going on. This is what's happening. This is the realism, not this phony baloney like Paul has, oh my God, I didn't know anything. Oh my God, like Raven, I'm sorry. Like it's basically what's really happening and Paul's bullshit.
You know what would have been interesting though? If Jason got out, right? And then they did a jury buyback, and then Jason got back in knowing this truth. That would have made the game a lot more interesting.
But I think maybe Paul
It wouldn't have
somehow
mattered.
maybe Paul
Yeah.
See, this is what I was thinking. I was thinking Paul might, and this is just a theory, it's not 100% true. I was thinking the way Paul said his goodbye messages almost sounded like at first that he was prepared for another buyback. So in case if they came back to the game, like this was the perception that the people that got out
Well,
were
I mean,
gonna have.
there wasn't gonna be a buyback though, because after I think it was Jessica's eviction, they said like that was it. Like once you're out, you're out.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, never mind then. Forget it. Paul's an idiot.
But
Okay.
not, but no, but what Paul was trying to do was he was just trying to set everybody up. Yeah,
But he's an idiot though. Like what they were gonna compare notes. What is he
yeah,
gonna
Right,
do?
right.
I mean, Kevin's free.
It's the same thing he did last season with Davon. It was the same little bullshit, except he didn't just do it to Davon, and he didn't just do it to one person. He did it to everyone.
Yeah. That was Paul's downfall. Well, we talked about this before. He just did not own his game. He didn't own his game when the people were leaving. He didn't own his game at the end. He just never owned anything that he.
He couldn't respect any of the other players. That's what it came
No,
down to.
it was just completely stupid, especially like with the way Jason went. He was like, "Oh, we got screwed. We're dealing with a bunch of counterfeits," and you have that right after Josh's video, where Josh just explains everything, and then Josh's video obviously makes the most sense, and then you have Paul's, which makes zero sense, and then the same thing with Kevin, where he friggin' told Kevin Christmas went rogue. Like, what is this shit? Where the hell did this come from? This makes no sense at all. Like you're trying to defend yourself in like
real.
every scenario, and it's like you're defending yourself by putting the blame on somebody else, but it's you. Just freaking own up to it. Be like, this is what I did. You got played. This is how we play the game. Let's move on.
Right. He dug his own grave, and like I said before, he probably would have won if he just owned it. He probably would have won if he just owned it. I think we would have respected him more if he did. I mean, I still respect Paul. I think he played a fantastic game. He probably deserved the win, but we can critique where the mistakes that he made, and that's probably what his downfall was.
The biggest downfall was he was really not. I think he really thought Josh was super loyal to him, and that he wasn't. He obviously didn't predict. When you saw his face, when you saw Paul's face after Josh said that stuff, Paul was like in shock. Like it looked like someone like shot him.
No, Paul was in shock. Paul was angry, and he outright called Josh a counterfeit. I mean, not a counterfeit, a coward.
We have April in the chat saying, I don't think they do goodbye messages when there's a buyback. I think that's actually true. I mean, they did do it. They did do in BB18. They did show the goodbye messages for Victor. And
they did. No, they
back.
did. They did one with Zach Rance. When Zach Rance got eliminated, they did goodbye messages, knowing that he had a 25% chance of getting back into the game. So yeah, they do that. Yes.
We have New York Cat saying, "Paul, you played yourself."
He did.
I wish he would have said that. I really wish he would have said that. That would have been so good.
No, he loves Paul too much to like
Yeah.
just to say that. All right, but anyway, so let's talk a little bit. Let's talk about how the votes were basically. So we were all at the edge of our seats, and they started from the back this time.
Christmas.
Yeah, they started backwards this time. Like Chris said, the past 2 seasons they started from the front and went back. They usually start from the back and go front. So that's what they did this season. So they started with Christmas. Christmas voted for Paul. Right? No surprise there.
I want to say when Christmas voted for Paul, I was like, "Oh fuck this shit." I was like, "God damn it!"
We thought the game was over then.
Yep.
Yeah.
We thought Christmas was going to be a
I was
deciding
like,
factor.
"Fuck this!" Like, I want to go home. Like,
We'll get to why we thought that.
Kevin votes for Paul.
No shock there whatsoever.
Right.
yeah.
Okay, and then Alex votes for Josh. Like a little shocked, but not too surprised.
No, because again, what she said when she put the key in, it was so obvious for Josh.
Right. I mean, but this time yesterday, we weren't sure.
Okay,
sure.
yeah, definitely.
All right, and then who was it? Raven.
Raven.
Raven votes for Paul. So
It's 3-1.
Yes, 3-1, and then Jason votes for Josh. It's 3-2. Matt votes for Paul. It's 4-2. It's 4-2. It looks like Paul has this in the bag, and then of course the last 3 are the people that probably dislike Paul the most.
Oh yeah.
So Mark, Josh, Elena, Josh, and
now and then it's down to just
again.
And then what's annoying is that it's down to just Cody, and we're still thinking like, what the hell was Cody talking about with his promise? That means that he's just gonna go vote for the alpha male, or what? Like whenever it was down to just Cody, what the hell were you thinking? Like what was going through your head when it was just Cody?
What's interesting is that during the roundtable, Cody says that Josh actually like he was like the front man, so he actually showed like more of his man card than Paul did. Paul sat like in his room while Josh did the work, and he says that's like more manly. So I don't know, maybe he did vote for the real alpha. I'm not too sure, but anyway, their faces are like going crazy because it's 4-4. Cody's the
Chris,
last
what was going
vote.
through your head?
I thought Cody was gonna vote for Paul, and I would have been really upset.
I thought that too.
Because I was like, there's no way Cody is going to vote for Josh after all the shit that he said. But then really thinking about it, Paul really did, like, screw over Cody a lot. So I was like,
he does hate Paul a lot.
He really does. And it's just like, I think in the back of his mind, he was like, that 3 weeks of safety, that 3 weeks of safety, that 3 weeks of safety. Fuck that, fuck that, fuck that.
And it was probably really bad during his speech when he said, I was never on the block. I mean, you were for like 2 seconds. All right, so let's. So they pull out the last vote, and it's Josh, and the 3 of us were together watching. We went ballistic. We were jumping around.
Oh my god!
Chris yelled like, yeah, woo!
I was fucking screaming like crazy, bro.
Oh my god!
I was like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted.
Just absolutely incredible. And it's no one expected it. Like we kind of thought it was possible, but no one like thought it was going to happen. We thought it was going to be a predictable episode. Paul wins the season. We all shut it off, and we all complain about the season in our talks. But no, Josh actually won.
Which is great. Great TV, by the way. Great TV. Not predictable, which is exactly what we've been wanting all fucking season. Not a predictable ending to a predictable middle.
Right. It was a predictable season with an unpredictable ending.
Yeah, which I mean, good TV.
Yes, it's great that way.
I'm happy with the outcome. I was very happy with the outcome. I've probably the same outcome when Steve took out Vanessa and won against Liz. Probably I was probably more excited this season though than 17.
So
Paul just sat there just completely heartbroken. Just upset.
Well, no, he stood up and he hugged Josh. Like you guys, I think you guys were saying that. I think Chris was saying that he would not hug Josh if Josh won. But no,
it seemed like he was bitter as fuck, though.
But the reason for that was because of how mad he was about the goodbye videos. But I mean, not for nothing. As mad as Paul could be about the goodbye videos, it's still part of the game.
You played yourself.
He played himself exactly.
I mean,
It's really. I have to be honest. It's like it's literally just those goodbye videos. That is the only reason he won. If he never did that, he would have never won.
I have said this before while we were covering the double eviction. I think production kind of edged it towards Josh giving like those goodbye messages. I feel like because I don't feel like it was proper for them to like. I just don't feel like the goodbye messages like in a normal season would have been presented that way. Because I don't think I think that production kind of wanted Josh to like reveal it.
Yeah.
What do you guys? So, and I think that's why.
I think they wanted. I think you know what it was. I think they wanted to reveal it just to make you think for a moment that Paul might not win.
Well, just to have
and I don't think their intent was for Paul to lose, because I mean, if you like remember what Dr. Will said whenever he said during his interviews that he had that thing in his ear and that he was being told what to ask all the house guests, and everything that they showed in like the 5-minute clip that they aired, or however long it was just him basically trying to convince the jury that Paul played a good game, so maybe you guys should vote for him, otherwise you're sore losers.
Oh well.
So when you keep that in mind, production was trying to push for Paul, but I think they also needed that like kind of antagonistic force against Paul, which was Josh.
Well, they had to play devil's advocate. To add what you were saying, they had to play devil's advocate, and it didn't seem like they were doing it. It seemed like they were like, fuck Paul, fuck Paul, fuck Paul. And that's not what a jury's supposed to be doing, especially during a round table. They always have to be like, well, Paul, I really don't like Paul, but Paul did do X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I feel like if you want to go the route that production tried to nudge it towards Josh, I don't think that production wanted Josh to win. I think production wanted Paul to win, and I think that they tried to they pushed the goodbye videos just to make it seem that Paul won't win.
Yeah,
but I think it backfired on them.
But I want to go back to what you were saying about the goodbye messages, and I think production did that because they seen and they thought, like, from the fans' perspective, it's boring, and from a production standpoint, they're like, okay, like, people are not liking what's going on right here. Let's switch it up. Let's give Paul some more obstacles other than just him running shit, because it's a boring season. You don't want to see someone running the game for like 100 and whatever fucking days. And I think that's what, again, it's about TV. It's about having good TV. It's about having people have obstacles, have goals, have people play as individuals and think for themselves. And I think that's what we were finally seeing with Josh when he had that goodbye message with Jason. We finally saw him think for himself. We finally see him playing the game and not be Paul's puppet.
Right. I mean, but you know, he could have done it a different way. He could have been like other seasons where it's just like right before the vote, and he just tells them flat out, like, look, that this is how it is. This is how the vote's going to go. And
without the goodbye message.
Yeah, without the goodbye message. I mean, previous seasons, people would just talk to them like right before the vote and be like, this is what's going on.
I think the reason why he didn't want to do that was because if he did that like right before the vote, let's
say get out in the house.
Paul
called. Exactly. And then Paul would have been like, Who told? Josh, it was you? Oh, you're not loyal to me. Fuck you.
I mean, there's also the possibility that production really didn't have too much of a hand in it, and it was just Josh being genius. I mean, it was actually, I mean, again, he's a super fan. With his first HOH, we learned that he was smarter than we ever thought he was.
Yeah.
All right, now let's jump into one of our next favorite parts, America's favorite player. All right, so first they talk about Celebrity Big Brother in the winter. So for those of you that are interested, we will be covering Celebrity Big Brother. We may even do a video speculating on who we want to be casted in it.
Drake Bell.
Yeah, Drake Bell. Definitely.
I'm still very pro Drake Bell and Big Brother Celebrity.
On the but at the very least, if we don't end up doing that, we will definitely 100% be doing a cast analysis. Look around for that.
Stay tuned.
Yes,
maybe what we'll do is we'll each get to choose like 4 people that we want as like the celebrity, and then like do like oh my god, like what if this person came in the house? Like what would they do?
I mean, I don't know too many celebrities.
We'll figure it out. We're not committing to anything. We'll figure it out. We're just committing. We're committing to recapping and all that stuff with the show. We'll follow it.
All right. So now America's favorite player. They do this every single year. We all voted for Cody, like probably a little over 100 times each.
Well, we have to thank Jessica for what she said.
We have to thank Jessica. But they presented it, and it was like the top 3. And I said it was going to be like this. I said it was going to be Cody,
Kevin and Jason.
Kevin and Jason as the top 3, and I was right. Of course, I'm right.
Congrats. But yeah, so Cody won, and Cody only had one sentence response. This makes no sense.
This makes no sense.
That's exactly what he said. No, thank you, America. Just it makes no sense. Before looking at Jessica and just he just gave Jessica a look like you had something to do with this. It was so funny.
I'm glad.
Yeah, so I mean, we're all very glad, and basically everything that we wanted to happen, happened.
Thank you, Big Brother gods. Like, holy shit! Like, you really made us wait so long for something like this to happen.
You know what was funny though is like whenever the votes were going up, and I thought that Cody was voting for Paul. All I was thinking was I want my AFP votes back. I didn't want Cody to win if he was. Yeah. I was like, if Cody does not vote for Josh, I want all my votes back.
It's almost like a parent tells their son, "Listen, we're gonna go to Disney World next week," and they don't go to Disney World, and you make them wait 3 months, and then finally they go to Disney World. It's like, yes, we waited so long, and you're finally gonna get what you want. And it was that, but like a million people were watching, and everyone wanted to get what they wanted.
I guess that analogy works, but yeah.
Yeah, sure. All right, so this has been our Big Brother 19 finale recap. Honestly, it was a really good finale. Just overall, I enjoyed watching. It was on the edge of my seat. I'm usually on the edge of my seat during the finale. This time, I think even more so than usual. Most seasons it's kind of like, okay, well, this is a little predictable, or because this happened, we can kind of expect this. But this time, it was really unexpected. This season and last season's finale were both very good, in my opinion. Thank you guys for sticking around with us this entire season. Keep in mind that we will be covering Celebrity Big Brother. We will be doing the live feeds for it. If there are live feeds, there might not be. I don't know. We will be covering the live feeds for it. If there are some, we will be covering the episodes. Also, next Wednesday is the season premiere for Survivor. I did a cast analysis yesterday for Survivor, season 35, Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers. Link for that down below. Right after this video is, right after I stop this broadcast, I'll edit that in. So yeah, expect episode 1 analysis next Wednesday, probably around this time actually. So have fun with that, guys. Last final words.
Dave, you go
Chris.
first. You go first. Dave.
All right. Well.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Well, I want to say to everyone.
Just go, Chris.
Right, I'll go. I want to say to everyone that's been watching and has been really supportive, thank you so much. We really appreciate the comments. You guys have had amazing feedback through all the videos that we've been doing, and we really, really appreciate it. We love people agreeing, disagreeing. All of it's great. If you guys have any other ideas or anything that we should cover, let us know, and we'll probably do it. That's about it.
Well, I guess my farewell speech or whatever the hell it is. Yeah, so thanks for sticking with us and thanks for watching. I know I'm still new here with just a couple podcasts in, but I will be here for the duration of Celebrity Big Brother and probably every other season of Big Brother onwards. We'll see what other shows I cover with these guys, and thanks for sticking with us.
I want to especially thank people that have spoken in the chat and been with us on every single video. Believe me, I know you guys. I see you guys talking down there like all the time. You guys have such funny comments, and I absolutely love it. And I hope to see it while covering both Survivor, if you guys watch Survivor, and Celebrity Big Brother. And it's going to be a blast. And let's go the distance together. We reached over 500 subscribers, and that's all thanks to your support. So thank you. Love you guys. And until next Wednesday, peace.
Take care, guys.
See ya.